Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Hyperbiker. If you don't know me, you'll find me screaming obnoxiously for no reason behind the bar of my motorcycle or behind the wheel of my car. I just get excited behind either of these things as it's something I'm very passionate about. But today, Hyperbiker is not so hyper about these things. I'm going to be actually steering the niche of my channel in a completely different direction because I think it's about time that maybe I should probably set foot in this realm that usually you'll find a lot of people on YouTube and social media talk about, which is fitness. The reason why I really want to step foot in this direction is because I think it'll be good for me to kind of motivate myself, see how far I've progressed, etc., etc. Now, the case for me, why I might be a little bit more different than what you see online, is because I have a certain special scenario on my hands. But without further ado, let's just dive right into it. And hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm recording with a new microphone, so I'm just hoping that maybe this might sound a little bit better than what you're used to hearing, especially on my podcast. And yes, I do have a podcast, just the name Hyperbiker. You can find me on Spotify. So, I got a notepad in front of me here, just talking about some things I want to go over for today's video. So really today's video, just want to kind of dive into the journey of my fitness experience, especially around a certain condition that I was diagnosed with, which people who know me in person can definitely understand what I'm talking about because A, you either picked on me about it, or B, it's noticeable. The condition that I have on my hands is called gynecomastia. But I don't want to get too into the specifics just yet. Let me just give you some ideas as to like who I am. Maybe give you some background here. So who am I? I'm a 30-year-old guy, very typical lad, nothing really special about me. I work a 9 to 5 at an office job. I carry on these hobbies and passions of mine, which you probably have seen on my channel that's been recorded and whatnot for various episodes. And obviously me, I've kind of left the nest of mom and dad's place and started living with my partner, which, I gotta work hard and pay the bills and be more responsible, stay on top of chores. You can get the idea that it's a little bit harder to have spare time set aside, especially when you're trying to build a relationship, spend more time with their family, and be more social, and make sure that your mental is also prioritized. But the thing with me, when I got diagnosed with gynecomastia, is fitness became a big priority for me, and to be more specific, I know I keep saying this, but I was diagnosed at the age of 27. So for those who are watching, I'm really hoping that this might give you some motivation, some information about what it is, and how anybody as ordinary as me can get it. I want to make sure that they're not alone, that you're not alone if you're watching this and you have gynecomastia. But I also want to shed some light on the subject because it almost seems like every person on YouTube who's a fitness influencer or whatever is already A, super fit, B, says that they have gynecomastia, but they have pecs that are absolutely gorgeous. No homo. You get the idea. Me, you can definitely tell I have gynecomastia. Like, I wouldn't mind like showing you, but insecurities. But I have a lot of fat developed underneath my pectoral region. And the thing is, with my condition, the areas that gynecomastia actually targets, varies amongst a bunch of different people. But for me, I'll mention where I notice gynecomastia to be more, prominent. So to give you some insight as to how it started and how early it started and what the symptoms were, well, it went back as early as when I was maybe 6 to 7 years old. It almost felt like it was overnight. Being a young lad, I was fairly active. And it occurred to me because I was looking at some of my childhood photos, and I was a pretty scrawny kid, and it's probably because I was always out biking with my friends. My parents would take me to the park. I'd be always hanging out with my brother, my older brother, who was always out and about, hanging out with his friends as well, and he'd tag me along, or I'd tag along with him rather, and partake in activities like playing badminton, volleyball, soccer, whatever it was. I was always out doing something. I didn't sit home most of the time. I wasn't really a lazy kid. I always wanted to do something. But that scrawny figure transformed significantly, almost like I said, like it felt like it was overnight almost, between the ages of 6 and 7. And I can see in my photos, I went from a very petite guy to somebody who just looks completely different. Like I couldn't even recognize my own self. Facial features all changed. I almost felt like I gained over hundreds of pounds. Stomach area, my rear, my legs, my chest especially, and like the sides, like my hips and such, and my neck. I gained a lot of weight. And I want to say this with the most utter respect for anybody who's watching this that might have the same condition as me. But I noticed it was targeting a lot of feminine areas, i.e., breasts, your butt, your thighs, hips, and lower stomach was one of those things too. But I know a lot of women tend to gain weight in the lower stomach region through different phases of growth, and sometimes it's like the hardest thing to get rid of, and a lot of women are probably very self-conscious of that. And I want to make sure that I'm not causing any insecurities amongst people who are watching this. I'm coming at this at such a gentle pace, but I also want to be respectful of everybody else's body types and whatnot. And I just want to also note that like everyone's special in their own way. Everyone's unique and wonderful and beautiful. And over the course of my fitness routines and my weight changes and becoming more fit, as I'd like to say, I really learned to accept myself for who I was, but I also felt like I should have emphasized love for myself even when I was at my worst, because I feel like if you really do care about yourself, you'd want good for yourself, right? And sort of this is where I'm going at when it comes to becoming more fit, or active rather. And it's good for your mental, it's good for your heart, it's good for everything overall. So I encourage you, if you feel like you're on the fence about what you want to do, if you want to transform something, you want to change something about your life, I really do encourage you to take on the fitness journey. Even if it means it's 20 minutes a day or 20 minutes every 2 days, I just think it's going to be a life-changing experience for you. And I also want to put a little side note here. I don't know if you call this like a viewer discretion or something like that. I just want to mention I'm not an expert on gynecomastia, nor am I specialized or certified to, bestow upon the viewers any sort of misinformation. I want to make sure that you understand that it probably takes a lot of research, consultations with doctors and physicians and whatnot to understand the condition. And I mean, if you're experiencing symptoms like I was, it could happen to anybody at any time, any time in your life. I encourage you to definitely look into it and talk to a specialist about it. So really that means what I'm telling you today, it could be, somewhat a fraction valuable and maybe meaningful to you, but everyone's experience with gynecomastia, I think it's very important to say this, it's always subjective, it's always different. So everyone's body is different, everyone's body's transforming some different way. Genetically speaking, everyone's got different types of gynecomastia. Like there's minor forms of gynecomastia and they're just severe stuff. And I feel like I've dealt with a more severe condition of gynecomastia. So I got a little sidetracked there, but I'm just reading back to my paper here. So the thing with gynecomastia is it really had to do with hormonal changes. Testosterone, estrogen, all the hormones in your bodies, throughout puberty, you kind of go through a whole wacky wave of getting a bunch of them all at once, and your body's rapidly trying to grow and develop your body, reproductive organs, your muscle growth, tissues in your body, your cells, everything transforms, right? And neurologically speaking, that's another big role in it too, right? You start to behave differently, you start to think differently, you start to have different instincts and whatnot. And I think I just want to mention here that I noticed in my gynecomastia, for me at least, it carried well into my 20s as well. So even though I noticed a big change in weight gain and my body physique was all different in, as early as 6 and 7 years old, I noticed it was still changing. Not to say it got more severe, but throughout my body transformations, which I'll get to in a bit, I noticed that my gynecomastia was always transforming in some way or another. I also had I had a recollection of consistently being told that it was baby fat, right? When I talked to family physicians as a child, moving into my early teens, my preteens, whatever, a lot of doctors had told me that it was just baby fat, right? And so obviously if you're younger and you're experiencing these symptoms and you want to talk to a family physician or a specialist or something, or anybody about it at all, they're obviously going to want to do some examinations and such. But my experience was I never had that serious talk with a doctor. My chats with doctors, family physicians, and whatnot, they were always very mild. They always thought I was a little bit crazy, and I use that word very vaguely and very, I don't know how to explain it, but I don't mean any vicious sense out of saying crazy. So I do apologize if it's offended anybody. But, a lot of people thought I was out of whack or out of line for thinking that it was a severe condition or a serious condition, rather. So diagnosis was always misinterpreted. It was never properly diagnosed. I was always just told to go home and not worry about it and just sob to somebody else, right? So, which was very frustrating, especially for somebody like myself who was really starting to learn more about my body, and my parents, who thankfully were there to guide me and help me and nurture me, they were also concerned too. But also, when they hear a doctor say something like that, they're like, whatever, it's baby fat. We'll just throw our kid into a sports team or whatever, and they'll shed it off over the summer. Didn't happen for me. So my next topic here was, what did I do to combat it? Well, like I said, I was very active at a young age. My parents put me in a soccer team. I was swimming every couple of days. I did a lot of physical activities with friends, living in a suburban area. Friends and I got together. We used to cycle all the time, used to play soccer, used to play beach volleyball, whatever it might be. I was very active. And like I said, in my early childhood and going into my preteens, every doctor I visited, it was always misdiagnosis after misdiagnosis. And one of the ways they told me to kind of combat it when I got a little bit older and they started taking me a little more seriously, they would tell me to maybe just do a strict diet and, of course, lose weight that way. Which honestly, I will say, I've noticed that the weight loss was, present when I put effort into working out and being more active, and obviously watching what I ate too, like staying within a caloric deficit, eating more high protein meals and whatnot, and more legumes, vegetables, fruits, and all this stuff, less processed food. It really did help. But I'm here today to tell you that even with all that, gynecomastia will still be dominant. It'll still be on top. It'll still be noticeable. So, next little subtopic here is, did I lose weight? I did lose weight. My heaviest, I was about 258 pounds, if I recollect properly here. Now I'm weighing about just around above 200 pounds, like 208, 207, 209 is where I'm usually hovering around. But the unfortunate thing is, with all my weight loss, especially with all my body transformations throughout all these years, I noticed that gynecomastia is definitely poking out more, as I like to say, as I've lost more weight. Because as your physique changes, you become more narrower or more slim or more cut, as they say. These features stick out like a sore thumb, right? Now, it's funny because, right now I'm not really going to school or doing anything. I'm 30 years old. I'm employed. I'm working hard and paying off bills, whatever. But when I was a kid and I had gynecomastia, you have to understand, I got picked on a lot. It dealt with, caused for a lot of bad insecurities, self-confidence, even in the dating scene when I was trying to explore my options, as I like to say, as a young male in society. Women would pick on me a lot for my chest and my abnormal features, and it really messed with my mind. And I never really felt like I was, to be honest, I never felt like a man. Although I felt the attraction and I felt straight or whatever my sexual orientation was, doesn't matter about that. But didn't feel, I didn't feel like I fitted in. I didn't fit in at all. I, it's really disheartening, of course, the stuff that I've been through with that nature. Bullying isn't exactly right at all. Cyberbullying isn't that great at all either, right? Like it's a very toxic thing to think about, and it leaves a scar in your mind for the rest of your life. But what's really amazing is, though, even though I've gone through so many different types of ventures of losing weight and trying to attain a better physique and being a better me, I think that was a really good motivator for me. But, the wife will tell me, like, you're really hard on yourself. And unfortunately, I can't control that. Anyways, yeah, it's caused for a lot of issues. Interpretation of, I don't have the ability to do something, I'm too soft of a person, or I don't assert myself properly, I'm not masculine enough, I'm not alpha, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, gynecomastia is more than just a physical thing, it's a very big mental thing as well. And if you're struggling by any means, mental health and whatnot, definitely go talk to somebody. And definitely go get help if you can. Therapy is available at all times. I don't want you to feel alone. My line's always open as well. If you need to reach out, comment, whatever, we can stay in touch. Just know that you're worthy. People love you. You matter. You have a reason in terms of why you exist. There's so many other things I can talk about here. I know I'm going a little sidetracked here, but this was major for me because I wish I'd heard those things when I was hurting. And sometimes I find myself hurting about the same situation today, even though I'm 30 years old and I don't go to school and I don't even see the people that picked on me ever again. But regardless, I gotta say though, I've noticed that people I still hang out with from time to time do pick on me for that, and that's like the most bizarre thing ever. But I've now grown the guts to snuff them in the face. So, yeah. So the diagnosis, okay, so you're probably wondering, I went through all these things, right? Like, what's the diagnosis like, or how did it end up working out? Well, over all those years, going through teenage years and moving into my 20s and whatnot, and having doctors that were misdiagnosing me, I requested a new doctor, and he was new in the field, and name is Jordan Littman. God bless this man. He was very concerned about my request of seeking help for this condition. And I didn't know what was a condition, rather, but very vague approach of saying, like, hey doc, I got this issue, like, can you help me out? So he was very concerned. He sent me in for numerous blood work, just to make sure it wasn't anything serious. But then there was a scare. They wanted me to go in for ultrasounds, scans, and a mammography, because he suspected it could have been cancerous, which, for those who get diagnosed with cancer and whatnot, of course, it's a big shock. But my issue was it was very scary for me as well, but in a sense that, like, I don't think anybody in my family ever told me about said conditions to exist in our family, like history, breast cancer especially. But it can happen to men as well, and I don't want to be the oblivious person here in the room, but it can happen to men as well. Breast cancer does exist in men as well. So, of course, that talk was very hard to go through, and it was a tough pill to swallow. But, I went in for the mammography. It was very uncomfortable and whatnot, and after all the thorough details and stuff, and that whole few months that I was scared that I was probably going to die from breast cancer, or I was too far into it that I was probably never going to be able to make a recovery. Luckily, I found out that it was non-cancerous, and the condition was just none other than gynecomastia. But the shitty thing is that gynecomastia is only able to be removed surgically. You can't put any emphasis on how much you work out to get rid of it, for me at least. It might work for a lot of people who have minor gynecomastia, but for me, I noticed when my doctor was talking to me about it, he says, you got it on your chest, you got it on your hips, your butt, you got it on your stomach. Like, if you want all these things to be changed, it's going to be a hefty bill because it's not covered by insurance. And that really sucks, because in this day and age, somebody who wants to go transition into a new gender and identity can get that done for free. And I can't. And that really bugs me. Not to say that I'm jealous of the other person being able to get better treatment than me, but it's messing with my back. It's messing with my mental. I deserve just as much of a good treatment to get that accessible, in a sense, but I'm not able to attain it. And it costs thousands of dollars, guys. It's not cheap. So you can imagine, I have to accept the fate that I'm stuck with gynecomastia for the rest of my life, or the down payment for my house has to go towards a surgery just for my own selfish reasons. That's a really difficult decision to be made. But, besides all that, I got diagnosed at 27, and, I went through multiple consultations with specialists. They told me that either I can get on some really hefty weight loss pills and stuff to lose weight, but it's not promised to remove gynecomastia. Talk to surgeons who are like, yeah, it's cosmetic surgery. We can go in there and take it out. Obviously for a good check. But also the talks about hormonal treatment as well was kind of emphasized there too, which I didn't really want to get into, but it's also another noted factor that it could also combat your hormones and kind of combating against gynecomastia. But obviously I do not condone in steroid use, especially if it's not mandatory. But it was something important to bring up to this video, just so you know. But after all that, I'm so sorry, my camera just shut off. I ran out of storage. I had to transfer it onto my hard drive. Let's get back to this. So currently, I got myself a gym membership, and I'm working out 4 to 6 times a week. My workouts are more for strength as opposed to cardio and full body workouts. I'm now doing chest and triceps on one day, back and biceps on another, and leg day on its own. I try to incorporate some core and some shoulders in each of my workouts, and I try to do a few sets of cardio sessions. So it might be like a 5 to 10 minute elliptical session, or a 15-minute Stairmaster session, or just running on the treadmill as much as I can go, just to cool off on a workout. I also did experiment with a bunch of diets that helped me as well along the way. I mean, before my diagnosis, I tried keto diet, low carb diet. I did the carnivore diet right after my diagnosis, shortly after my diagnosis. Intermittent fasting was also very amazing to see how exponential the results were in that case. But I'm now kind of focusing on high protein intake, moderate amounts of carbs, just to restore glycogen, obviously, and fats are very limited. But I will say a couple of things that I noted, not just how my weight's changed since I first started this whole journey of fitness, but after doing my blood work, I noticed that my testosterone at beginning of doing all my blood work was significantly low. It was about 80, and now my count of testosterone is 560, 570, which is a huge change, right? And it's definitely helped me attain muscle and kind of develop better muscle memory. I was able to push more weight easier. So it's definitely nice when you start working out, like myself. I was able to attain testosterone rapidly just by working out more consistently. So if you're thinking about steroid use, I urge you to rethink that decision, because just as simply as going out to the gym more often will exponentially increase your testosterone. I'm very certain that's science, but again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm here to learn as well. So, and also I did a BMI test, like a body mass index test. I was able to see that my body mass index was sitting between 17 to 21% body fat, which for me I think is really good. Compared to what I was before, which I think was pretty high. So again, working out, finding a diet that works for you, in my opinion, protein high for sure. That's like going to help with weight loss on its own. But also, staying within a caloric deficit to help you get proper sleep, and also just try to be positive, right? Like positivity, mental health, it's number one, and it helps you motivate yourself. It helps you stay on top of things. So I just really hope that this is something that can help you as a viewer who may be dealing with gynecomastia or weight loss issues. Couple other things as a conclusive note here. I am considering surgery, despite the fact that it costs a ton. I definitely am considering it. I'm looking into insurance plans that might help me cover part of it, which still, I might have to pay a crap ton of money, but I think it's definitely mandatory because it's been bugging me even to this day. And so I think that might be a really big life changer and a game changer itself to get that removed, because the way gynecomastia works is that it's stemmed in your body and you can't burn it off. It's just a root underneath your pectoral glands, or whatever you want to call them. So they have to do an incision, remove this entire stem, which along with it is all this sorts of sacs and glands and fat deposits. So I'm definitely considering surgery. So this might be one of those things where it's like I can look back at myself and see how I look before, and then maybe an after as well. Yeah, and I want to also note too that like throughout my entire experience with being on top of my fitness and whatnot, I did go through a lot of body transformations. Like fresh out of high school, I went straight to it. I worked out so much and I was so hard on myself about it too. I dropped so much weight that when I went back to my old high school to revisit friends just as a surprise, people didn't even recognize me. Visiting people, midway throughout my high school transition, because I changed schools based on, my experiences, obviously being picked on and whatnot. People were like, is that you? Like, what happened to you? And then I started to realize that people were starting to think differently towards me, like I'm capable of something, which was huge for me, right? But, and then, gaining weight was, I gained weight so much throughout the course of the last decade. Gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight. Life happens, and I hope everybody realizes that sometimes in moderation with things can really help you kind of stay on top of your goals. You don't have to be too excessive to tire yourself out or burn yourself out. Make sure that you're reasonable with yourself and that you attain a realistic approach with all this. Like if you're like me, who's busy all the time and the only time you can go work out is like late in the evening, then maybe just minimize how much you're doing, but maybe go more frequently throughout the week, right? That's kind of like what I'm doing, and it's been helping me a lot. A big game changer for me, I want to say this before the video ends, is taking not unnatural supplements, but supplements to help you. You want to stay on top of your vitamins. For me, a couple of things that help me: maca root powder, vitamin D. Also, I'm taking like green powder supplements, like superfood blends. You can like pour that stuff up in the morning drink. Have that. You have everything you need to get you through the day. But also protein powder and protein bars for sure. Find a flavor that meets your needs, because you have to excuse me, I'm burping here and there because I just had a ton of protein shakes just to meet my protein goals for the day. But yeah, finding a right protein shake will help you, because sometimes they can be chalky. They might not blend as well with your drink. You also have to see how your body reacts to it as well. And also the flavor makes a big difference too, right? You don't want to take a protein shake that you don't like at all, right? So make sure you find a flavor you like and a brand and a type that you like. Also, protein bars, same exact thing. Creatine, that's a big game changer for me. Creatine just fills volume up in your muscles, and you have to take it at least every day, if not every second day. Just make sure you're on top of creatine intake because it helps volumize your muscle mass. And so you don't have to worry about going to the gym to get a pump. Usually the creatine fills that in. I take a bit, like 5 grams or 4 grams before I go work out, and then another 4 or 5 grams after I work out, which might sound like a lot, but it's made a difference in my muscle, my physique. And so, these are some things that have helped me over the course of the last 2 to 3 years to kind of help me attain a better physique. And honestly, gynecomastia is such a pain in the butt. It's very difficult to deal with. You can't just get rid of it like an eraser, right? Like you have to go through a whole process of a surgery, and a lot of specialization has gone into this to kind of help you tone down your body, make you lose weight, and make you gain your confidence back, right? Like surgery is a very big, like, oh my gosh, right? But if it means that you gain your confidence back, like myself, I'm deciding on whether or not I want to do this, definitely look into it. It's definitely worth a shot. The whole gynecomastia topic was kind of stemmed off of a video. I forget his name, but he had a video about like man boobs, and I remember leaving a comment on one of my old channels on YouTube, and a lot of people were reaching out to me to see how I've been doing since. And honestly, I really wish they could see this video because it got so much attention. But I dealt with this situation for so long in my life that I think it's about time that I completely put a stop to it and make a game-changing life decision of just going for the surgery. Because I learned the hard way that's really the only way I can get rid of my gynecomastia. It's severe. You guys saw the video of me grabbing my tits. Like it's not the greatest feeling ever, but you know what? I'm still very happy that I have a roof over my head. I got a good job. I got a wonderful and beautiful honey by my side. I got bread on the table, stuff like this. I'm very thankful for. But these things, guys, trust me, it's very minor. But if it's something that really means a lot to you, then I say go for it. But regardless of that, this was my experience. I wanted to share that with the world. I really hope that this gave you some light, some encouragement, some motivation, maybe some knowledge as to what this condition is. I just want everybody to leave this video remembering that, everyone's different, everyone's body's different, everyone's body is going to react differently to some things, what you put in it, what you do with it. Genetics are always different amongst everybody. Although we're all human, everybody does have flaws, and so I want you to understand that even if you feel like they're big flaws, they're probably really not that big of a deal to other people. You're special in your own way, you're amazing in your own way, and I really want you to stick to your guns and really find like an alley to push you through, and get you through to the good side. Clear that cloud over your head and really try to prove yourself more than proving others. That's what helped me. And this is me right now. I still got this, but my arms looking good, triceps, my legs too. Like, it's there. The growth is there. The results are there. I'm not here to flex, to show off at all. I'm here to really just bring people together, share some insight on this situation, and maybe give you an opportunity to reach out to somebody. If you're dealing with this, you can talk to me. If you had questions, I can try my best to help you. But I'm just really glad I got this video put together for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Hyperbiker. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Spotify, and my YouTube channel. If you're new here, you're welcome to click that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment, even if it's salty. I'm here. I'm more than willing to see everyone's comments. So I appreciate your time. Thanks for even caring to listen and clicking on my video. But I hope to maybe log my journey throughout. One last thing, although I'm using my personal phone, I really do advise you, if you decide to go into this fitness routine, log your stuff. Log how often you're going in, log the amount of time you're spending, log the amount of food you're eating. I think it's going to help you a lot, and maybe we can go into that in the next video. So, cheers, guys. I salute you. Hats off to you, and I hope all the best for you. Okay, stay positive, stick to your guns, and go crush it. You got this. Cheers, guys. Bye. Peace.